So as part of the, you could say, movement to try to manage this problem, I started a clean energy company in 2008, and it's now the largest independent power producer in British Columbia. We have wind power, hydropower, solar power, and geothermal power, and that was a consequence of an attitude in British Columbia, I think, that said, you know, let's all do what we can to deal with this problem of carbon. The carbon tax was one of those solutions. And as a believer in free markets and as an entrepreneur, you know, I very much subscribe to the view that the polluter should pay. This is a market problem. It should be a market solution, and that means higher costs if you bring something into the atmosphere that actually harms the atmosphere. It's a rather more difficult thing to actually identify the problem because, of course, it's invisible and the whole world pays the cost. So the only party that can actually effectively regulate carbon pollution is government. It's got to do it somehow. It either does it through a cap and trade system or other regulations, or something that is simple and clean and easy to administer and easy to identify, and that's the carbon tax. Now, of course, it's wrongly named. It's not really a carbon tax when it's revenue neutral. It's a charge on a polluter and a benefit to the rest of society to the extent of the dollar revenue that the government makes from that charge. So you charge companies that are polluting, that's fine. Everybody has to pay for pollution, but you're giving a benefit to society everywhere else. So there's this offset, this revenue neutral concept has been a very winning formula, I think, in the BC carbon tax. Every company in British Columbia pays less income tax, pays less corporate tax because of the carbon tax. Every individual pays less income tax because of the carbon tax. The other things that the carbon tax have done is they've spawned incredible amount of innovation. So, for example, my company, even though we don't pay a carbon tax the same way BC calculates it, say in South America where we have our mining operations, we're all trying to adapt to increasing costs through innovation. So if we had a mine in British Columbia, we'd pay more to the extent that we use diesel and natural gas for different aspects of the operation, but we'd be looking for innovation on how to reduce our use of diesel, how to make our mines cleaner, because it's simply good business. And this is where you have, the positive impact of a tax or a cost on something is it stimulates good engineering and good entrepreneurship to reduce those costs as much as you can, which, of course, is usually what happens. And the result is a longer-term, more sustainable operation. And that's, I think, been a very, very real thing in BC's cement industry, our forestry industry, where people have switched from carbon emissions in throughout their businesses to other forms of reducing their energy use, using different kinds of energy generation other than fossil fuels, all to aim at lower costs, smarter, better ways of going about business as a great business solution to the problem of carbon emissions. So it's really worked, I think, and I think Marin's statistics have proven that out. Companies are operating with lower emissions, and yet they're operating successfully. We're growing our economy. It's not been a negative. It hasn't been a drag. There's now 6 years of experience proving this. I think it's a great model for Massachusetts, and I really commend every single one of you who are working to have this happen in your state. It's a good idea.